Hello, everybody. Today's second review is going to be of the movie called Send Help, directed by Sam Raimi. Now, this film I kind of had a slight idea of what I was getting into when I went into this movie, but definitely had some twists and turns that I wasn't expecting and some Easter eggs that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, we'll talk about that after we go over the casting list. And I did give this movie a 9 out of 10. It was definitely a Sam Raimi film. You could just tell the fact that he wasn't just a writer on it, that he was also a director. Now, if you don't know who Sam Raimi is, he did the Evil Dead series and the Army of Darkness movie. Now, I think he's been involved in all of the Evil Dead movies, and even up to Evil Dead Burn. That comes out later this year. So I'm not really sure. I don't think he's directed them all, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he did direct the 2013 that the other one came out? That was supposed to be like kind of like an almost like Scream sort of idea where it's not like a complete remake, it's almost like a requel where, it's slightly a different story than the original movie, but almost kind of follows the same uh, storyline. It's hard to explain, I guess. Yeah, but they didn't bring back any old characters in that movie, so it was kind of hard to say that it was a requel because, yeah. But it was kind of in a sense not it was a sequel, but also kind of like a retelling of the original story, almost in a sense. It was a weird one, good but weird. So we had anyway in this movie, Send Help, which I gave a 9 out of 10 to. We had Rachel McAdams as Linda Little, Dylan O'Brien as Bradley Preston, uh, Edel, who played Zuri. I guess that was her full name, and then Xavier Samuel, who played Donovan. Forgive me if I left out her last name, but I believe that was. I wrote it down as that, so we'll just say that's what it was. um. So anyway, Linda, who is this, I guess she's kind of like she's not a secretary, but she works in an office and she's supposed to be getting this big huge promotion when her boss steps down and his son comes in to take over. She's just supposed to get this promotion to be VP of the company. Now obviously when the son comes in, he is, I guess, like appalled by her or doesn't really like her vibe or whatever. I guess if you want to call it that. He's not a big fan of her anyway. So he decides to give the VP position to his friend Donovan. And Donovan has only been there for 6 months, whereas Linda has been in the office for 10 plus years. So, and because she's so good at what she does, she should obviously be up for the promotion, right? But it's kind of, I guess, because somebody else new is taking over, obviously you're going to want to have your friends beside you, sort of thing. And he tries to explain that, but he's coming off as a bit of a, douche about it, right? The fact that he doesn't want her because he believes in his friend more that's been there less time. It's kind of like, are you just saying that, or are you saying that because you don't think she can do the job specifically, or you just don't like her, so you're just going to throw her to the wayside, sort of thing, right? It makes no sense. Just because you don't like somebody, and that's only because he doesn't know her, right? In the very beginning of the movie. So then, of course, he says, if you can prove yourself with this whole business deal that he has going on, then uh, he'll consider her for the position, right? Or at least give it more thought. So then, of course, when they're going on the plane hits some turbulence in some pretty bad weather, crashes. So now they end up on this, stranded on this island, just the two of them were the only two survivors. And of course, she starts to slowly like go a little bit crazy. And I thoroughly enjoyed Sam Raimi's direction of like watching her slowly descend into madness. Now, it wasn't like it didn't happen quickly, it was a slow burn. But again, in the beginning of the movie, obviously, you know that she's kind of feeling that because she has like she seems to be a pretty thriving person. Like, she always has a positive attitude. She's single, so, and then we find out later on that her husband was an alcoholic, and he had died obviously in a car crash, but she could have prevented it. She said that he was abusive, both mentally and physically, sort of thing. Um, and he was a drunk, so she just had enough the one day, and he would always go for a drive, I guess, or want to go for a drive when he got drinking really heavily. So eventually he just, got angry, was trying to look for his keys. She took them out of the purse, set them on the table, poured him another drink, and let him go. So essentially she didn't really murder him, but she let him go. So she knew that, it was going to be a potential that he could die on the road in that situation. So kind of crazy. She let him go. So she in a sense, that's like almost second degree murder, because she let him leave the house drunk. But again, I'm sure that's not what she said in court, if she even got to that point. But anyway, so they crash. It seems like she's going to be stranded there by herself. Now, obviously, she has like all these survivalist books. She's made a tape to get herself on Survivor, like the television show. I didn't even know that was still a thing. Like, that's still going. Like, I used to watch that when I was like in public school. Like, that used to be popular almost like probably like 20, 25 years ago. So kind of crazy to think about, but yeah. Um, so yeah, she ends up finding him, obviously, and she's like, oh my God, why did it have to be you, sort of thing, right? That she gets stuck with. Now, the plane crash scene, there were a couple Easter eggs there, but there was also one Easter egg in the office when they're having their little chat, and that was the photo of Bruce Campbell on the wall behind the desk. So I'm assuming that's who uh, Bradley's father was supposed to be, and he's the one that stepped down. Now, we all know that Sam Raimi and, oh my God, Bruce Campbell are really good friends, obviously, throughout the years. Bruce Campbell was in all of the Spider-Man movies, like the 1, 2, and 3 from back in the early 2000s. And he was obviously in the Evil Dead movies and the Army of Darkness, and then he was in Ash vs. Evil Dead. I don't know, was Sam Raimi part of that too? I'm going to have to go back and look and see if he was part of the TV show as well. So yeah, they've been friends obviously throughout the years, so he's going to throw in as many little cameos as he can, right? Or Easter eggs there, as he can with his friends. And that's what you should do, right? When you become famous, bring your friends along with you. It just makes sense, right? At least the ones that are closest to you, like bring your closest friends to you. I have a pretty small circle, so I know exactly who I would be bringing with me if I was making a lot of money. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so on the plane, obviously after the crash, like the turbulence hits and the wall like completely comes out of the plane and everybody's getting sucked out of the plane. The one guy, Donovan, grabs Linda and like is yelling at her to like give me your seat, sort of thing, like get out and let me have it. And he sounded very much like a Deadite in that part. And then of course, uh, he gets caught on the his tie gets caught in the plane, and he's like bashing up against the window and going like, help me, and it's like, what is she gonna do? If she unties herself from the seat, she's also going to die. So, and then when she's getting out of the plane, the stewardess's face comes down and it's like right there, and I'm like, oh, okay, that made me jump a little bit. Like, there were some good jump scares in this movie for sure, and they weren't cheap, which I do like. Some of them were a little more predictable, and some of the parts that you wouldn't expect to be jumping at, I was jumping at, because I was always like on the edge, expecting something to happen. So yeah, there were a couple parts that like were fast cuts that just made me jump. Like even just the weather changing like really quickly from like sunny to stormy. I was like, that would like kind of made me jump a little bit because it was such a fast cut. So, but you were always on the edge of your seat in this movie, that's for sure, because you weren't sure what was going to go down and when it was going to happen. But Yeah, again, I want to touch on Rachel McAdams' character's Linda, like her descent slowly into madness. So they get onto the island. She helps. She helps Bradley in the beginning, and then he gets a little cocky and tries to say that he could do this on his own, and then she leaves him there for a couple days and comes back and saves him all over again, sort of thing. Now, she gets comfortable on the island. She sees a potential way out. This boat passes the one day, and she goes, "Not yet. Like, I don't want to leave yet." So she decides to go back and basically say that there's no way off this island. She becomes more and more comfortable. He starts to believe it too, right? Like there's nobody coming to save him, sort of thing. And he starts to get more comfortable with her, or so it seems. And then one night, he decides that he's going to cook dinner, and he tries to poison her. Well, he does poison her enough to, try to escape the island. Uh, on this raft that he's made. Now, that didn't go as planned, obviously, and he has to get saved a third time, which is absolutely crazy. And then she gets him back and paralyzes him with this blue ringed octopus. Now, I think enough of that could potentially kill you if you ingested enough of the poison. I'm not exactly sure what a blue ringed octopus can do, but I know they are dangerous. Um, so yeah, obviously, if it paralyzed him, anymore, and he would have probably ended up dead. Now, she does some pretty dark stuff, or pretends to do some pretty dark stuff while he's paralyzed. And, just goes to show that, you know, the office is his domain, but when she's out in the wild, obviously, because she's read all these books and maybe practiced a lot of stuff, like survival wise, she knows that she's in her element now. Like, this is her island is like her home. She's going to be able to survive pretty easily out here, and he might be learning slowly, but he's not anywhere near the capabilities or anywhere close to the capabilities that she has out in the wild, obviously. Um, so yeah, he needs to clearly listen to her. Now, she's kind of like slowly falling in love with him a little bit. Now I guess she kind of had like a crush on him when they met at the Christmas party, so it makes sense that she was already kind of in that mindset when they landed together, even though she was a little bit upset with him, obviously, due to the fact that she didn't get the promotion, and then he says to her on the island that she's fired, and she kind of jokes about that, like, send me my last check over here to this tree or whatever, when he gets all upset and says that he can do it himself, sort of thing, and he starts to gain strength in his leg again, and then his soon-to-be fiance finally shows up to the island. Like she said, when everybody else gave up, she knew that she would find him eventually, and then, uh, obviously at this point, Linda has gone completely off the rails, and the first little show of descent into madness was when she's like at the waterfall, and she's checking herself out in the reflection, and then she, you know, finds this. Come to find out at the end of the movie that she finds this house that's been on the island the entire time, and she finds this knife, and he goes, "Where did you find that?" She goes, "Oh, just washed up on shore. Crazy the things that you can find that wash up on shore." And he, kind of shrugged it off like, "Nah, whatever. Maybe it was on the plane. Like, who knows, right?" But it was kind of suspicious that she just was able to find this knife. And then, of course, when they have their big fight at the end, after he has found out that she killed his fiance when she showed up to the island. Now, she did it in such a diabolical way because she had slipped on the cliff earlier in the show, or early in the movie, when she was showing uh, Bradley all the spots on the island. Like, that's them over there. There's nothing else for miles. Don't go over there where the X's are because that's all thorn bushes and so on and so forth. So she's explored most of the island while he was, out of commission with his leg. And now, of course, she's shown him all of it to kind of get him on the same page. And yeah, again, she's slowly falling for him. She's getting more comfortable on this island. Like, this is where she wants to be. There's nothing for her back in the real world. So she's going to try to convince him that this is the place to be, right? Eventually, he finds his fiance's hand sticking out of the sand, and I was like, okay, so you didn't really bury her that well. Um, like, why would you leave her hand sticking out of the sand? So they have this little confrontation. They have this huge fight in the forest. He gets the worst of it. Let's just say that much. And then when he finds the house, she's already been in there, so she knows where everything is, like the cameras, uh, like the golf clubs above the fireplace, and the shotgun that she probably should have shot him with. Let's be real, like because in the one scene he almost like gouges her eye completely out of her head. I was like, oh, like not a lot of stuff bothers me. Like usually eye stuff doesn't bother me, but I was like, holy crap, dude! Like her eyeballs almost popped out of her head. It was very similar to like the where she goes to hunt the warthog in the very beginning of the movie. That was very Sam Raimi. Like those scenes were definitely, you could tell, were like the supposed to be like the Sam Raimi comedic value to it, where the wild hog is like coming at her no matter what, and she's like trying to kill it, and then she throws the head at Bradley and goes, "Do you like hunting?" Like, I think I really like it. I'm like, you almost just died in that scene. It's crazy to like just absolutely out of this world, like crazy comedy. Like the dark humor is what I really like. So yeah, that's why I think I like Sam Raimi as a director, because he really throws out the dark humor there for sure. So then at the end, it doesn't show her kill him, but you know that he didn't make it because she just swung a golf club at his head. And who knows how many times she swung it, right? And then it goes to her like a little bit later on when they have found her and she's like the sole survivor or whatever from this plane crash, and she's got this book coming out and she's super successful now. So I think she's probably taken over the company, or she's either, kind of made like a business for herself. And then at the very end, she like stares directly into the camera to break the fourth wall to make you know that she's obviously evil. We kind of already knew that based on what she had done on the island, and he almost does convince her that he will stay with her, but then she notices the horn is off the one figurine, and just grabs the golf club and swings and absolutely, absolutely takes him out. So yeah, there wasn't really anybody to root for in this movie because neither of them were good people by the end. So it was kind of like, they're both evil by the end of the movie. So you're not really rooting for either of them. It's just kind of like who's going to kill who sort of thing by the end of this fight. But yeah, really good movie. Lots of comedic moments. And one of the other things I wanted to touch on was when she had her dream and Zuri is like crawling out of the ocean, and I'm like, okay, there's no way she's still alive. She's either hallucinating or she's dreaming. And then of course the like skeleton face from Zuri pops up on the screen. That looked like a Deadite too. So that, again, another little Easter egg in the movie. I'm sure there was more, but I'd have to go back and watch it again to maybe pick up on some of the other ones. But yeah, really phenomenal film. Definitely, I would say it's one to go watch on the big screen. If you're a fan of Sam Raimi, for sure, definitely go watch this on the big screen. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.